Former fitness model Lonnie Willison once appeared on magazine covers and lived a glamorous Hollywood lifestyle while she was married to former Baywatch actor Jeremy Jackson. But after her turbulent marriage with him ended, she reportedly struggled with severe mental illness, addiction, and financial collapse, eventually losing her job, apartment, and car before becoming homeless in Los Angeles. She's since been photographed searching through dumpsters for food and pushing all her belongings in a shopping cart. Wilson has said she deliberately keeps herself dirty and foul-smelling because she believes it makes her less likely to be assaulted while sleeping on the streets. Despite repeated offers of housing, rehab, and financial help from friends, she's consistently refused assistance, saying she prefers to live independently. In 1995, Mr. T was diagnosed with T-cell lymphoma. True to his larger-than-life personality, his first reaction was to joke, "Can you imagine that? Cancer with my name on it. Personalized cancer." After undergoing years of chemotherapy and radiation, he beat the disease and has remained cancer-free ever since. In 1976, a camper near the Gaines Rock Pit in the Florida Keys was approached by a hippie-looking stranger who offered to show him a human skeleton for 25 cents. After seeing the partially decomposed remains, the camper immediately contacted authorities. The victim was eventually identified as 15-year-old Stephanie Sempel, who had disappeared months earlier after hitchhiking to the Florida Keys. Nearly 50 years later, Stephanie's murder still remains unsolved. In 2016, a Somalian suicide bomber smuggled a laptop bomb onto Dalo Airlines Flight 159, intending to blow up the plane. 20 minutes after takeoff, the explosives detonated and blasted a hole in the side of the plane. The bomber was instantly sucked out and ended up being the only fatality. After accidentally leaving his 6-month-old daughter trapped inside a sweltering car for hours, a Texas father discovered she was unresponsive and in a desperate attempt to save her, placed her inside a refrigerator to cool her body down before calling 911. Unfortunately, it didn't work, and investigators charged him with manslaughter. In 2012, a woman from New York donated her kidney to save the life of her boss. The boss then fired her when she took too long to recover from the operation. In 2013, 4 members of a Russian family died after entering a poorly ventilated cellar where hundreds of rotting potatoes had released a deadly buildup of gas. One by one, each family member went down to rescue the last and was overcome by the fumes. An 8-year-old girl became the sole survivor after the cellar door was left cracked open, allowing enough of the fumes to disperse before she entered and discovered the bodies of her entire family. In 2010, 19-year-old star rugby player Sam Ballard accepted a dare to eat a garden slug at a party. Unbeknownst to him, the slug was carrying rat lungworm parasites, which triggered a rare infection that left him with severe brain damage and paralysis. Ballard spent the next 8 years requiring around-the-clock care before dying from complications in 2018 at just 28 years old. This man developed star-shaped cataracts after he was zapped by 14,000 volts of electricity. While he got some of his vision back after surgery, he's still legally blind as a result of the mishap. A British Marine had the motto, "You'll never walk alone," tattooed on his leg before part of his leg was amputated in Afghanistan. As a result, some of his tattoo got cut off and now reads, "You'll never walk." A Dutch teenager who was going bungee jumping in Spain died after a horrific misunderstanding. The instructor, who had poor English, said no jump, but she heard it as now jump and jumped straight to her death. This is why commands are never supposed to be given with a no or don't. In 1999, skydiver Joan Murray's parachute malfunctioned mid-air, causing her to fall 14,500 feet to the ground. But miraculously, Joan survived the fall thanks to the fact that she landed directly onto a mound of fire ants. Doctors believe that being stung over 200 times by the ants released a surge of adrenaline that kept her heart beating. In 2010, a 17-year-old Chinese boy sold his kidney on the black market so that he could buy the new iPad. 8 years later, the man's other kidney failed, and now he's bedridden for life. In 1995, 51-year-old Willie King entered a Florida hospital, expecting doctors to amputate his diseased right leg due to severe diabetes. But instead, a cascade of medical errors led surgeons to amputate his healthy left leg. When King woke up, he reportedly yelled, "Doctor, that's the wrong leg." His diseased right leg was later amputated as well, leaving him with both legs gone. The hospital and surgeon later paid him a $1 million settlement. In 2004, Peter Porco was attacked in his sleep with an axe by his son, suffering 16 blows to the head that exposed his brain and shattered his jaw. But somehow he initially survived and appeared completely unaware of the catastrophic condition he was in, calmly getting out of bed and carrying out much of his normal morning routine, using the bathroom, packing his lunch, loading the dishwasher, and writing a check, despite his face being severely mutilated and blood covering much of the house. He eventually collapsed and died near the front door. His son, Christopher Porco, was later convicted of his murder. After his mother died in 2013, Arizona man Jim Stauffer donated her body for scientific research. He later found out that her corpse was sold to the US military for $6,000 and blown up at a bomb testing site. In New Brunswick, Canada, in 2013, two young brothers were strangled to death by a 100-pound python while at a sleepover at their friend's house. The snake apparently snuck into the apartment through a vent connected to a pet shop below. Experts claimed it's highly unlikely for a python to just go on a human killing spree, but the boys had gone to a petting zoo earlier in the day, so they may have smelled like food to the snake. The animal was euthanized, and the snake's owner was eventually found not guilty of negligent homicide. After being diagnosed with polio at age 3, Diane Odell spent nearly 60 years encased in an iron lung. She only died when a power outage shut down the machine that had been keeping her alive for decades. John Thompson was home alone when he had both of his arms ripped off in a farming accident, but he still managed to get up and dial 911 with a pencil in his mouth. He miraculously survived and both of his arms were reattached. In 1995, a man named Terry Cottle took his own life in a horrific way. Terry's heart was then donated to Sonny Graham, who ended up marrying the donor's widow. Soon enough, people started to notice that Sonny was taking on some of Terry's traits. He started liking things that he'd never liked before, like beer and hot dogs, which were some of Terry's favorites. A few years later, Sonny would end up taking his own life in the same horrific way as his donor. In the 1980s, 12-year-old Martin Pistorius fell into a coma and remained in a vegetative state for 12 years, or so doctors thought. 2 years into the coma, Martin regained consciousness but was unable to show any sign of it. He was trapped in a lifeless state for nearly a decade while being fully aware of everything going on around him. He said one of the worst parts was when the daycare lady would sit him in front of children and baby shows all day long. He also heard his mother say, "I hope you die," on multiple occasions. Today, Martin is able to speak through a computer and move in a wheelchair, though he'll forever be traumatized by those 12 years of suffering from locked-in syndrome.